Can the Antigravity A1 track me through this park, or will it crash into the trees? Hi, my name is Mick. I'm a licensed drone pilot and I've been flying 360 drones for several years now. The Antigravity A1 is my 8th 360 drone. Here are 18 things you must know before buying it. We have like a really wide space, so we're going to try that first. Then later I'm going to head toward that area over there where there are lots of trees, and we'll see if the A1 can keep up. First, let me show you how tracking is done on the Antigravity A1. Tracking on the A1 is easy. I just choose Deep Track on the menu. Then I hold down a button while dragging a square around the subject, in this case me. Then I press the button again to start the tracking. At this point, I can remove the goggles and it will keep tracking me. While we test how well the Antigravity A1 tracks me, let's talk about the A1 and how it's different from other drones. First, what is a 360 drone and why would you want one? 360 drones can capture a fully spherical 360 video. Most of them are invisible because the props are within the blind spot between the lenses, so it looks like the video was shot with an invisible flying camera. Because the video is 360, you can fly first and frame the view after. You can aim the camera perfectly every time. But the Antigravity A1 is not just a 360 drone. It's the first 360 drone with a 360 flying experience. You have a full 360 view while you're flying it. You can look in any direction while you're flying it. It makes it feel like you're flying on a dragon. In fact, there's an option to make the A1 look exactly like that. Now, you might be worried about whether it's hard to fly. In my opinion, it's easier to learn for beginners compared to a regular drone. Now, there are two ways to fly it. First, let's talk about the simpler way. They call it FPV mode. In that mode, the motion controller acts kind of like a joystick. If you want to move forward, you press the button, it moves forward. And now, if you want it to move left, you turn your wrist to the left, and it moves left. You want it to move right, you turn your wrist to the right, it moves right. I mean, that's basically it. Move up, move down, so on and so forth. The second way to fly is called free motion mode. Now, in this mode, the A1 will fly where you point the stick, regardless of which direction you're looking at. So, as you point the stick in different directions, you'll see a reticule in your goggles. When you press the trigger, the A1 will fly in the direction of the reticule. As I mentioned, you can look in any direction while you fly. When you look off to the side, you'll see a small view like a rear view mirror that shows you which way the stick is pointed. Now, it might sound complicated, but trust me, it quickly becomes intuitive. It's also easier to pull off moves like a manual orbit. Downsides: if you are an experienced drone pilot and you're comfortable flying with two sticks, the problem is that it's going to be a little bit harder for you. There are things that are easy on twin sticks that are kind of hard on the motion controller. Like, let's say, moving backward, like reverse. With the twin sticks, you just push the stick backward. With this one, you can't really actually do that. Also, it has this slider to ascend or descend. The problem is that the slider doesn't seem to be dampened. If I push up to ascend, it ascends at almost like a fixed rate, and it doesn't gradually accelerate. It just goes zoom up, zoom down. I would have preferred it to be dampened. Same thing with the yaw. There's this wheel here, and you use this to control the yaw. So if you spin it to the left, it's going to rotate to the left. Spin it to the right, it's going to rotate to the right. And this isn't dampened either. When I spin it this way, for example, it's going to spin at the rate that I spin this. It's kind of hard to get a smooth yaw. Also, I found that while I'm moving forward, I can't do the yaw. I don't know why. Like, if I'm moving forward and I also wanted to yaw, the yaw doesn't respond. Experienced drone pilots have given Insta360 or Antigravity their feedback, and they said that they will release like a traditional twin stick controller next year. Let's talk about the goggles. If you've never had FPV goggles before, what's it like? It feels weird if this is your first one, it feels like an out-of-body experience. Like you're wearing the goggles, right? You're wearing the goggles, and as you're flying, and if you're aimed at yourself, you can see yourself, and it feels like you're looking at someone else. It feels like you are the drone. Once you get used to it, though, it feels fun and kind of puts you in a different zone. It's kind of meditative in a way. And what's cool about the goggles is that it has this LCD display. So if you have friends with you, they can see what you're seeing. Like it will actually show on this tiny screen. I also like how this has a pass-through camera here. So while you're wearing it, if you need to look around, you don't need to remove the goggles. You can just press a button here and it's going to activate the camera, the pass-through camera. I also like how the goggles have a defogger, and the lenses here have fully customizable IPD, interpupillary distance. Like each one can be independently moved, and you can adjust the diopter. It has like a built-in diopter. If your eyes aren't perfect, this can adjust for it. Let's talk about the build quality, because this is the first drone from this new company called Antigravity in partnership with Insta360. So how does it compare to something like a drone from DJI? Well, the surprising thing is that the build quality of this is really impressive. I was just shocked at how well it's designed. Like the build quality is super polished. It's very refined. It doesn't feel at all like a first-gen product. If anything, it almost feels like it's more polished than an equivalent DJI drone. So yeah, you can get this with confidence. Like even the software, like when I'm wearing the goggles, the interface is super smooth and user-friendly. It's really impressive. We're almost done with the tracking test, and so far the Antigravity A1 kept up with me on my small electric unicycle. Now in this part, the branches were very low and it did lose me, but the cool thing is that it tried to look for me again and was able to catch up with me without intervention. So it looks like the A1 tracking works pretty well, at least at these speeds. One of the useful features of the A1 is called SkyPath, which is like a Wirecam. You can program a number of waypoints and it will follow the waypoints that you set. The waypoints can be a complex three-dimensional path that moves up and down, not just left or right. As it flies through the waypoints, there's an option to see the path as an overlay to make sure you won't hit any obstacles. The A1's Sky Genie feature also has pre-programmed flying patterns such as the droney or orbit shot, similar to DJI's Quickshots. But because the A1 captures shots in 360, the shots are even more versatile. I also like how the A1 lets me choose the Sky Genie shot in the goggles, but I can remove the goggles right before I execute the Sky Genie shot. How about 360 photos? A lot of people want to use 360 drones to shoot 360 photos. My personal advice is that the photo quality from this is okay. It's 55 megapixels. But if your purpose is for shooting 360 photos, like for virtual tours, that kind of stuff, I would suggest getting DJI 3 instead, because this is almost fully spherical and the photo quality would be way higher because it takes way more shots. It takes like I don't know, 20 shots or something. The only advantage of the photo for this is that it can do moving subjects easily. So if there's a crowd of people and you don't want any stitching issues, this can do it. This takes a 360 photo in one shot, so this shot will look smooth. It's just going to be lower resolution compared to 360 photo from the DJI Mini 3. Speaking of stitching, how is the stitching distance? Now, if you're familiar with 360 cameras, the space between the two lenses is a blind spot. So with normal 360 cameras, they try to keep the lenses as close to each other as possible so that the blind spot can be smaller and the stitching can be smoother. This one, the blind spot in this is pretty wide. How does that affect the stitching distance? Unfortunately, it makes the stitching not as smooth as a normal 360 camera. It's something you need to be aware of when you're flying. So what I do is, when I fly, I just imagine that the horizon is like the stitch line. So I avoid putting the subject at the horizon. I either fly with the horizon above or below, like the face of the person. Now, let's talk about legality. First of all, the weight is 249 grams. So in many jurisdictions, including the US, for example, you don't have to register this drone. Now, of course, if you use it for commercial use, then you're going to need a license no matter what. Second, does it have real ID? So if you're in the US, yes, it does have real ID. It is real ID compliant. And for those of you who are peace-loving, if you're worried about drones being used for warfare, like carrying a dangerous payload, that kind of thing, Insta360, or rather Antigravity, was worried about that too. So it actually has a feature where if you try to put something on it, it's going to detect the weight and it will not fly. So they're taking steps to prevent this drone from being used for for anything other than peaceful purposes. Can it fly indoors? The answer is maybe in some circumstances. The first limitation is the GPS. Like if you're in a building where you're really deep inside the building and there's so many concrete walls and ceilings, probably you're not going to get enough of a GPS signal. But if, let's say, you're in a gym, it's possible that you may get enough of a signal that you'll be able to fly indoors. Now, but you cannot fly indoors in tight spaces. Like, let's say, in a room like this, if you're thinking of flying this in for real estate indoors, that's not going to be doable with the A1. Now let's conclude. Who is this for? Like, if you ever wished that your Insta360 X5 could fly around by itself and follow you around, then the Antigravity A1 would be for you. I would also recommend this for recreational flying, like flying not to shoot videos, but to experience the kind of like the fun and joy of flight. If you want to do that, then the Antigravity A1 is also for you. So let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in 360.